Rosh Chodesh Elul, Hemshech Samech Vav, New Mimer, page Shin Mem Vav. Shin Nun Vav.
So for various reasons, we decided to learn this mimer's answer to the one we learned before. You know, it's not in a direct hemshech to what we learned, but we have reason for it. B'siyata d'shmaya yom based Rosh Hashanah Reish Samech Zayin. In other words, it's sort of the beginning of the year following Samech Vav, and Reish Samech Zayin. So the mimer begins with a quote from the Machzor, from the Siddur, from the Tefillos of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, in which we say, Kodesh Ato v'noiro shemecha ve'ein elaka mibaladecha. We say this in the blessing. It's the third bracha of the Shemoneh Esrei of Rosh Hashanah, which is in place of Ata Kodesh v'Shimcha Kodesh. Instead of Ata Kodesh. By the way, did you get the message? Did you give him the message?
From the books.
Huh?
The telephone.
You got a telephone from some people?
Leave a telephone.
No, it's important. They could call anytime. There was some firm that they're trying to contact you, but they called me on the phone. They've got some international courier delivery.
That's right. That's right. I know of this.
You
They're
got
going
it?
to call my cell phone.
They called this. The guy gave them the number, but most of the day it was closed. It wasn't open. I don't know if you.
I have two numbers. I hope you gave him the new number. Okay. So
if you have a number for them, then maybe you should contact them.
I don't.
I don't know what it is. Anyway, they'll probably come looking for it. I don't know. Right. So on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippurim, instead of the third bracha of Ata Kodesh, we say quite a long bracha, and we finish off with this. This is like the siyum of the third bracha of the Shemoneh Esrei. We say Kodesh Ator v'noiro shemecha ve'ein elaka mibaladecha kakosu, and we bring our pasuk, and then we say Baruch Atah Hashem Keil Hamelech. Hamelech HaKodesh. I think this. Has anybody got a matzah or even a siddur? Siddur probably have it. Yeah. We'll just show two before we go further. No bigger siddur than this one?
This one. Big.
There you go. Yeah. So we start off, we said the first two brachas of Shemoneh Esrei, and then we start Ata Kodesh, Shimon Kodesh, Deishim Chol Yom Yahalu Chesaro. That's like it is in the daily Shemoneh Esrei. Then I said we had a whole series of different statements. Then we come to the end of the whole piece, and the third bracha completes itself with that expression: Kodesh Ato v'noiro shemecha ve'ein elaka mibaladecha kakosu vayikba Hashem tzvokos b'mishpat v'kel hakodesh nikdash b'tzedakah Baruch Atah Hashem Hamelech HaKodesh. In other words, it's like the siyum of the third blessing of the Tefillos of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Okay, so we notice here two expressions, or three main points. Kodesh Ato, what Ato is referring to the Eibishter, and then we say that his name, Shmoi, Shmecha, is Noiro, and the word Noiro is from the word Ira. It's from the basic root word of the word for fear in Lashon Kodesh, and Noiro means it is fear, or it's awesome, as you might say. In this particular, like we say in Bilchus Krishma, in the daily prayers, Hashem Melech Godel HaGibor Noiro. What the Yiniv Noiro means, feared or awed in a very elevated aspect. Noiro. And we say, and that's out to his name, Lishmecha. In other words, that the word Kodesh is referring to Ato. Ato is our way of saying directly to Hashem himself. Elul, his name, we call it feared or awed. And then say, V'ein elakam mibaladelcha. There's no, literally, deity apart from you. But that obviously demands, on the part of the intended reader, that demands an explanation. What's that got to do here? Why would we say, precisely after having said the Ato Kodesh, and then having added Noiro Shmecha, then why would we say, V'ein elakam mibala, there's no other deity apart from you? What does that belong here? Or how does that fit in? When we're referring to the very essence of Hashem, Shezeu Ato, that's what the word Ato, Shemoire al ha'atzmus, that indicates or shows the inning of his very essence. Because when you say Ato, in normal expression, the word Ato refers directly to the personage that you are addressing. Therefore, Ato is called, in grammar, it's called Lashon Noichach, something that's opposite to you or visible and obvious to you. For that, you say Ato. If somebody is not around, or he's not, we're not sure exactly where he is at that particular moment, then we say who. Yeah? We say he. But if he's there and you're looking at him, then you say you. So when we say you to the Eibishter, we mean the very essence of Hashem. We mean the Atzmus Mamish. So therefore the word Ato is Moira al Atzmus, Nema Kodesh. We use the expression literally holy, and it's well known in Chassidus. We mafarish that word as meaning the concept of drawn and separate, moved out. When you say something is Kodesh, then you mean it's withdrawn in the sense of a abstractity and a transcendence from other level. So therefore, when we're referring to Atzmusei, we use the word Kodesh. Bial Shmoi Yizborach. However, when we're referring to his name, Oima V'Noiro Shemecha, we say the word Noiro. So we need to understand what's the differentiation of those two usages of terminology. In reference to the Atzmus, we say Kodesh, Elul. To Shmoi, we say Noiro. In the daily prayers, then we say Ato Kodesh v'gam Shimcha Kodesh. That's how we say it. If you're familiar with the Shema Nesrei, then we say Ato Kodesh v'Shimcha Kodesh v'Kodeshim b'chol yom ya'alucha. Now we say Baruch Ato Hashem HaKeil HaKodesh. Over here, when we're referring to the Matzav Al Mitzav Rosh Hashanah, and we're about to call him HaMelech HaKodesh, then we use the expression that Shmoi is not similar to Ato, but it's Noiro. And even in the daily prayers, we see that we use a similar terminology for the Shem, like we do for the Atzmus. Harai, Shmoi is Barak Gamkein Kodesh. It's possible then to say Al Shmoi that it's Kodesh, otherwise we wouldn't be able to do that every day. we say Ata Kodesh, and then we say Shimcha Kodesh. Is a simon that in the level of Shmoy there is a possibility to call it Kodesh. In other words, there's a possibility to somehow equalize it with the Atzmos. But the Lama Ne'emar Kan, over here in this context, Kan meaning here in reference to Rosh Hashanah, V'noiro Shmecha. We separate from the Atzmos to the Shem with a different descriptive word. Instead of saying that the Shem is Kodesh like he's Kodesh, we say that he's Kodesh, but the Shem is literally Or or Fear Noira. So that's the first question. Why are we here in this prayer of Rosh Hashanah Mishana, the usage of the descriptive term for name? Well, Mahu Inyan, and also we need to understand Ve'ein Elaka Mibala Dercha Ve'eze Shaychus Yeshel Inyan Zed the Kodesh Ato V'ner Shmecha Im Inyan Ve'ein Elaka Mibala Dercha. We need to understand, says the Rebbe, first of all, what does it mean? Well, I say that there's no literally divinity apart from you. Well, what does he mean by that? What does it mean? What is the question? What does that mean? I mean, l'chora, it's obvious what it means. That there's no other chas v'sholem deity apart from Hashem. So we have to say that ein nachanami. Mitzad the fact that appears so obvious, and the question is, why do we need to say it? What is the pirush in ein elaka mibala dercha? Once we work that out, then we have a further thing we're going to have to work out. Why is it used in reference to these two after these two statements, after Kodesh v'noiro shemecha? And once we've said those two levels, then we can bring in this ve'ein elaka mibala dercha. What does it have to do with them? So there's like two questions. First of all, Mahu Inyan ein elaka. What does it mean? What is the implication? And then what sort of connection, shaykhus, does it have to do with the two expressions, Kodesh Ato v'noiro Shmecha? What do they have to do with the Inyan ve'ein elaka mibala? So those are the questions with which the Rebbe begins the Maimon. So now, in order to understand them, he said, "Olahovin zeh tzorich lahaktim ma shenizbu eliyiro. The ikar avedas habirulim kefi hakavona ho'amitius hi alidei bechinas hamalchus davke. The tachlis hakavona hi li is loy dira betachtoinim. V'hainu shatachtoinim Yiyu Keilim Mamish le'elkus. Zehu alidei hamalchus davke. So here we meet up with what you might call a inverted classic concept in Elkus, in Elkus and in Chassidus, the concept of Avedus HaBirulim. So everybody might say, well, what are you learning a mime about Avedus HaBirulim? The Rebbe says that the Avedus HaBirulim has been completed, as it were. So in order to understand what we've already completed, then we need to learn about Avedus HaBirulim. V'yesh leima, as we go along further in the mime, then we'll be able to deal and how would we say, grapple with that question more capably when we get some more picture of the what you might call the circumference within which we're talking about Avedus HaBirulim. So he says here that the ikar of the Avedus HaBirulim, according to the kavana, the genuine and true kavana, meaning the genuine purpose of the Eivishter, that is carried out precisely through the sphira of Malchus, Davke. Precisely through the last of all the 10 spheres, Harayah and Elam Asilas. But that's what carries out the, as it were, the Inyan of Avedus HaBirulim. So we need to understand what does that mean. And then we see that the Tachlis HaKavana, meaning the ultimate purpose, which we just said that the Birurim are according to the emes of purpose. So what is the emes of purpose? The tachlis, the ultimate aim of the whole purpose of the Eibishter in creating the world. If you remember, we learned way back in the first Maimah of this Hemshech, is that it should be Dira lo yizbarach b'tachtoin. And that is the ultimate purpose of all the purposes that the Eibishter had in the creation. Because if you remember anything from the first Maimah of the whole Hemshech, then we saw different ways of describing what was Hashem's aim or what was his purpose in the creation. But we pointed out they were different levels within certain Oifani HaGiluim of the Eibishter. But the ultimate and final tachlis, the ultimateness of his aim is Dira B'tach. There should be a union from Tachtoinim, meaning the lowest, in inverted commas, of all possibilities, Tachtoinim. And there, in that lowest possible of all possibilities, Davki there should be Dira Loyes, but that the Eibishter should dwell there. And it's well known that a Dira means that he should be there b'chol atzmusay. Because the difference between a Dira and something that you just relate to it, or you have some shaykhs to it, is that in your Dira, that's where you're found with all your atzmus, with all your being. That's where you're found. It's the far, when we say that the kavanah was Dira v'tachtoinim, then in those tachtoinim, whatever that may ultimately imply, but it means the lowest of all possibilities for the moment, for argumentative purposes. Davki there should be a islabshus, atzmiyas of the Eibishter, that he should enter that k'moishu bi'atzmus is bara. But I mean, that is, when you think about it, that is the most almost mind-boggling contradiction that can possibly be, because the whole meaning of the Tachtonim don't really exist. I mean, everything is only the Eibishter anyway. Ein oid milvada. Everything is bottled to him, b'tachlis hapitul. So what does it mean that he made this Tachtonim and he's gonna dwell in? So I mean, that obviously means some tremendously delicate and elevated concept that is very hard to picture in our minds. How can that possibly be? However, we have to say that it's all for our sake. As far as the Eibishter is concerned, there's no Tachtonim and no Elyonim. As far as he's concerned, everything's bottom. But as it were, for the sake of the Mekablim Mimeno, he went through this unbelievable state where he brings about what appears to be Tachtonim, and then he even wants to, as it were, appear in that Tachtonim as if it were containing him and revealing him when it doesn't really exist as far as he's concerned. So as far as the Eibishter is concerned, this whole meaning of Dira B'tachtonim is just an unbelievable mineu bay, a trick, or a thing which is only, as it were, appearing. It's not really the fact. Over so dear to him is that possibility and that fact, the Gabi de Mekablim, that it becomes the whole ultimate purpose of him having made the whole Bria Melachat Chila, because the whole Bria Melachat Chila is anyway in that way. It's like that it's all bottled b'tach habitable. And as the Alter Rebbe points out in Tanya in chapter 20 and 21, particularly in chapter 21, it never really, the world never really started, it never really got out of its bittul to him. It's just completely and utterly cold of a bottled boy used bottom. So the point is that the whole thing that we talk about Tachtoinim is only as far as we're concerned. And then in that Tachtoinim, he wants to come and be there with his whole atzma. So that's an unbelievable contradiction for the sake of art. In other words, it's all an unbelievable chesed for the sake of the Nivroi. And that's what we find, that it's another time, and we also mentioned that there's another time for the whole Bria, Ki Chofa It Chesed, because the Eibishter wants chesed. He wants to do, as it were, kind of Chofa It Chesed. You can't do chesed that covers the over the age. You have to have the bria in order to be able to do chesed. Was it the greatest chesed is that he makes it look as if it's tempting. It's not really, but he makes it appear as if it's tempting, and then he dwells there. I mean, what on earth? But nonetheless, that's the motif. So that is the most unbelievable chesed that could possibly be imagined. That's the idea of dira b'taktoin. So what achieved dira b'taktoin him? Malchus. The sphere of Malchus, well, that is what it makes it possible for it to be the inyan of taktoin, because all the other spheres are completely betelim or klulim in the Eibishter that ain't nachanami, they are aware only of Ihu v'chayeu chad. They say we're just one with him. There's no other entity apart from him. Malchus is also like that, but it's done in such a way that it brings forth the possibility of there appearing another entity. In other words, that the whole way that the Eibishter plays this unbelievable game, that he makes it appear as if there's something which is not really, but he makes it appear, well, that's Malchus. And that's the whole concept of Malchus, that we see that a king can only be a king if he's got other entities apart from himself. Or if he can't, there is such a thing as ruling over yourself. That's another matter. But that means like ruling over the entities inside yourself. Well, everybody knows quite intimately what those entities are. We don't need to go into that. You got to rule over your own nefesh you could become a king over yourself. But normally speaking, you're not a king over yourself. You're not a king over your own family. You're not a king over your own relatives with the whole alichas. You're not even a king over behemoths. You can't be a king over behemoths. You can knock behemoths around, but you can't be described as a king over them. Yeah? Only behemoths are kings over behemoths. And over the lion, it's called the king of the beasts, or whatever the place was. Yeah. However, what you can be is a king over other humans, but they're not yours. They're separate from you. Ein melech v'loi. The only way there can be a melech is if there's a separate people. And that's what the Alter brings in Shara Yigdal at the beginning. Ein melech v'loi om negoshet oimem is nifrodim. With little coals, once the fire's burned, they all break apart one from the other. They're all like separate entities. But that's the word om. The word om is from the word oimemes. And oimemes means, like Titus over there, charcoal coals that are all sort of separated one from the other. But that might be a remez that if you separated one from the other, then you're a charcoal piece of coal. Anyway, whatever may be the remez, musari b'zeh. יש לדקתי גם בזה, אבל אין כאן אנחנו בדקתי דברים כאלה. אבל sometimes that the whole inyan of taktoinim, the whole concept that there's a separate entity, well, that's connected with the idea of a king. A king, what his whole inyan is to rule over other entities. If he doesn't have other entities, he's not a king. And so that's what the Eibishter brings about, this amazing sphere called Malchus. What that, as it were, creates and brings about the possibility for at least there to appear that there's another entity. Ultimately there isn't. It appears upon him that it is. To whom does it appear? To those who receive from the mouth. They're just like the subjects, they receive from the king. In Cain, you got Sfiras HaMalchus, and Sfiras HaMalchus produces you these Ein Melech V'loi Om. So what's this whole in with Pirulim? What's that got to do with it? So in order to achieve this inyan, that there should be taktoini, what taktoini means, like we said, the lowest of all possibilities, then there have to be drastic kaviyachol steps taken in order for that to be taktoini. Because no matter how far you go down with all these different symptomim and all these different inyanim that you make in order to make Malchus function, what Malchus' inyan is symptomim, nonetheless, you can't really make something which feels itself and is Ayesh bifnei atzmei, compared to Hashem. How's that going to happen? That's known as, a contradiction, Meneu Bay, because Einoi Mavade must remain the cage. So therefore, the Eibusha made this union of what we call Shvirus HaKeilim de Toihu. He made this union that there was a certain point where everything broke. It didn't go with the normal Seder. It didn't go with the normal union of Gilui, one level leading to another, even with great Tzimtzum, great retractions and so on and so on. But it fell, how do you call it? It collapsed massively. And it fell, as it were, in a way that it was misrachik, it distanced itself, Kaviocha, from the Eibusha. And that brought about that even though there might have been lower levels, but they would have still in some way been batil to the Eibusha. Of the union of the Shviras HaKeilim, Matayu, that brought about that there are things which they feel themselves, and they more or less stop there. They feel themselves, and they are so far away that they can literally give rise to another thing apart from the Ratzon of the Eibusha. In other words, that they can give rise to this idea of making the Dvarim HaTachtoinim a reason, Cholila, to forget about Hashem or to not be aware of Him in the way which is required. So that's what happened with the whole Inyan. In Malchus Kufa, there was this, as it were, tremendous distance occurred. And that's what we see, we're going to mention as we go along here, the Inyan of Shem Ban. That there's a combination of the Shem Havaya, which leads to the numerical value of 52, Ban, and it's well known that is connected with the Inyan of the Yesh. And even though the Shviras HaKeilim was in another name of the Eibusha, it's called the Shem Sag, that's what it is. But the real Nephilas are Nitzutzes, and their ultimate Helim is really connected with the Shem Ban. So that the two Shemes, Sag and Ban, have a certain relationship in giving rise to this whole Yerida of the Nitzutzes and the Yerida of the highest Me'er upon of his Barak. Well, that's not the place to go into all that here. We'll maybe do it as we go along. However much will be necessary. Suffice it to say that gives rise, and that brought about the possibility that the mensch is faced, and once he comes into the picture, the man, then he's faced with what we call a bechira. He's faced with a choice. That's what the Alter Rebbe points out in the 22nd chapter. After he's already pointed out everything is really bottom, there's really nothing, then he said, but there is something. Hashem did it in such a way that you have a choice. In other words, that you can run after the fallen situation and get involved in, or you can go higher than that fallen situation, and by going higher than it, you pull it up with you and you elevate it, and you, as it were, separate off, or you deal in a choosing way with the situation. And that's called birur. That's called Avedus HaBirur. In other words, Aveda based on choosing, on taking out. The word levarer means to take one thing, a desirable thing, out of another, to cast away the undesirable. But again, the Shabbos we have to go contact of Beirer, Malacha of Beirer on Shabbos. Avedus HaBirur. So that's where it begins, this whole concept of Avedus HaBirurim, and according to the Arizal, that was the whole reason why the Neshama came into the world, was to be basic Avedus HaBirurim. The world has had a tremendous collapse, and our business is to elevate it and reinstate it back, and through that we make it even more of a dira b'taktoinim than it was at the beginning, before all these so-called undesirable things reached their finality. Because there was already a filler Gan Eden, B'shas, he was a created man first, then he created the ideal of all worlds. There was already a dira b'taktoinim, like it's brought down in the Basi Lagani. The Eivusha was there in the Oiven, Shahoy Saloi, dira b'tak. Taktoinim overthrew the whole Indian of the Chait, and it all went away, and that's the Indian of Shviras HaKeilim, with all the things that we mentioned. Then you've got to make it back, you've got to bring back the deal of the Taktoinim, B'emisla, Amite, the difference being that you're going to make it this time. I say at the beginning of the Bria, the Eibster made it. This time, we're going to make the deal of it have to. That's all idea. They waited up here. Birur, and the Adam Arishan, he didn't have a Birur. He just had a perfect world in front of him. And his idea was just to keep going higher and higher and higher the whole time. But unfortunately, he blew it in a very heavy way. But to a certain extent, we're still eating the lokshan, as you might call it, from that unfortunate collapse of Adam Arishan. However, whatever that may be, the Rebbe says any minute it's going to change, and we're going to reach this deal of Taktonian the way we're supposed to be doing it now. And what is that? That means that you've got to choose now, and you've got to face this situation, elevate the good, and, as it were, put aside the va, and that's called the union of birur. That's called choosing. Ali Day say, you make a whole new world. You make a whole new possibility. However, the Rebbe said in this particular Hemshech, in the previous Maimon, and another Maimonim in this Hemshech, he has pointed out that there's an ultimate, this Hemshech is like they call it, all the big instruments blowing at their full final force. As one of that the Rebbe prepared this Hemshech as a gift for Melech HaMashiach. You heard the famous piece of God that Rebbe Rashab prepared this as a datum for Melech HaMashiach. Because according to certain great authorities, Tofrei Samech Vav was supposed to be a case. And the Rebbe apparently knew about that, and so did other great Gedolei Israel, Boisaz Man. They felt that there was a very sound basis to say that Tofrei Samech Vav is going to be the scholars of Mashiach. So the Rebbe, they say in Lubavitch, I don't know if it's written anywhere, but he's often that the Rebbe Rashab, that he prepared this amazing Hemshech as a gift for Melech HaMashiach. Yeah. Anyway, I would have thought that maybe certain people would have shown a little bit of his pilot, but everybody took it very coolly. It's, might have thought that we would have been upset, surprised. Somebody might have jumped out. You see this. Anyway, I have to appreciate the Madrega, the Moichan that these guys have got. They're very powerful. Lead to being of these pilots. Well, anyway, as you go back to our theme, is the union of Avedis Apirulim can be imagined on two, as it were, levels. One is where you, as a man in the world, you're faced with the bechira, the choice between running after those things of consciousness and of life and of understanding, where they just live for themselves, as it were, they live like the Nefila occurred, or you can say, no, you want to go back to the real Shorish, to the Eibster, and you want to, as it were, give him back and elevate him back everything, and therefore create a whole new situation, make the world a possibility of a Dira Lo Yisparach. So the question is, what does it mean, Adira Lo Yisparach? I've said it means an appearance of Hashem, that He dwells even pnimi in the world, meaning it becomes a Kli Lo Yisparach. Now, what does that mean? The world becomes a Kli. What does that mean? If let's say that this box is the way it is. It's not really a Kli because it's closed. Now, let's say I'll take something and I want to jam into it. Until I open the lid, until I take out what's inside it, and I can't put anything in there really. I mean, I can maybe jam it in there by force, but it's not really clean. The same with a piece of wood that hasn't been carved the right way into being a receptacle or a dish or whatever. You can try and hack things in there, but it won't really go. It's not really a kli. What is a kli? A kli is something that's got what's called a kli kibul, how do you call it, a receptacle of a deep space which has been cut out, that it wants to, or that it's able to receive what you want to give it. So what is that? That means that you want to take the eloquence. you cause, when I say you, I mean the Adam, he has to cause that all the Dvarim HaGashmi and his own Dvar HaGashmi, that's his Kuf and his Nefesh Abahomiyot, he has to be poil that they should want to be shaykh to the Eibshter. And that once they say that they really want to be shaykh to the Eibshter, then they become a Kli. That means that they became a Kli. In other words, that what is the emes of Kli? Your will. What you want, that is the Kli. In other words, if you're bottled with your will and you say, listen here, Eibshter, I only want what you want, then you're a Kli. And the same, a chassid to a Rebbe, he says he wants what the Rebbe wants. Then he's a chassid. He's got all sorts of inyanim with his achman. And he says, oh yeah, the Rebbe is a big man. I got my little piece. Then he's not a chassid. What's it that he's not a chassid? He's not a Kli. We're all Kli. So the same here. In order for there to be dira b'taktoinim, well, these things have got to want. They've got to say that they want the Eibshter to dwell on them. Because what's he going to get? They have to come with a big axe or something and hack them all out and drain them all out and hack holes in them or something. What's he going to do there? What does it mean, dira b'taktoinim? That means it's going to become a piece of melted metal or something. They're able to sit on top of it. What does it mean, dira b'taktoinim? Everything has to become a vessel, the way it is. How does that happen? By wanting, that you want. It's all right, what does that mean? So that means that the emes of birur is that you cause all the inyanim in the world that they all say, we want the Eibshter. And that means that your nefesh abahomiyot, right? It doesn't just obey, with a, how do you call it, a sort of a breeze, what you tell it to do. I mean, at the beginning, ain't malasot. That's what you have to do. But your nefesh abahomiyot is to say, oh, yours, I want this as well. I really want it. In the end, the nefesh abahomiyot says, yeah, we want Mashiach. No, the nefesh abahomiyot says this. In other words, it wants dira b'taktoinim. I said, oh. Yeah. And not only that, the nefesh abahomiyot, he causes all the Dvarim HaGashmi. All the things they all say we want. In other words, that you can cause these netzutzes, that even though you don't really, I mean, a big tzaddik, he hears what's going on, he hears them talk, he hears them say. We're a little bit locked up in the chumrah yet, we don't hear exactly what's going on. Over the table, and the chair, and the floor, and everything says, we want the Eibshter. So we're ready that he should reveal himself in us. Meaning that the netzutzes elokiyim, which are hidden in those things, they wake up to what they really are. They're really divine sparks. And I say, okay, if we're divine sparks, we want to be united with our fire. We don't want to be separate sparks. We want to be united. We want to have our fire. The Eibshter will come and dwell in there. In other words, it's a kli to everything. So that's what the Rebbe said in the previous month. He said that the emes inyan of Avedus HaBirurim is that the Adam poiled on his nefesh abahomiyot, which comes from this whole Yerida, and is the emes of Tachton, came from this falling of the Firas Akadim to Toivu, which the Eibshter did in order to make things really hard. Had he got to really quench that this mamish separate low inyanim which you call Tachtonim. And that came about through this whole inyan of the Yeridas, the tremendous descent of the inyan from Toivu. And after there, the Adam is faced with this choice, but not just that he chooses, but he works so hard that he causes his nefesh abahomiyot to want what he wants, not just to obey it, with a crutch. The nefesh abahomiyot says, I also want, sure. If a miller that comes in the mensch, how do you call it? Two voices now, the nefesh abahomiyot and the nefesh elokiyim. And they're both saying, let's have Gilei Elikut. So which one strays harder? The truth is the nefesh abahomiyot strays harder. The nefesh abahomiyot has come from this high level too. He's fallen heavily. Or when you get him, he's from a very high level. Therefore, he strays with a very powerful voice. The nefesh. That's even going to birur. That's the ultimate purity of the word birurim. It means purification, or it means returning a thing to its emes mahus, what it really is, be'emes. actually even a bit. That's what you bring about, that you've caused a possibility that can be derivative through the fact that your toihu, which is your nefesh abami, and we all know what sort of confusion he made, toihu. So the nefesh abami says no, right off, right? He signs off, and he says, you just told me what I'm supposed to want, and then he gets the idea, that he wants. Well, he doesn't need to be told anymore. He knows Elikus. And he shreis with the ganze river that he wants Gil Elikus. And so with all the Dvarim, everything joins in this tremendous chorus, and that's what we say in the Psuki Dezimra, in the Hallel is Hashem Min Hashem Hallelu Kol Marimim Hallelu Zeh Hallelu Zeh. They're all praising the angel of Kmafatzah. What is those? Yes, they are. If you poil in the world the right way, then the whole world will be shreis to the end. And you got to have the right ears, you got to be able to tune into them and hear it. Remember, a tzaddik is a person the whole time he's hearing this tremendous tumult. But he hears also the voices of the other side. He hears them very clearly. Whenever he tries to teach it, he tries to show you what we should do. And you've got to be very careful to listen to what he says. Otherwise, you can be everything fine, but you may be not going exactly the right direction. That's the Nakuda of Avedus Habir. That's the Indian, that's the Amitis Akavona in Elul is Barabatak. Dave's wanted thing which would be the opposite. It would fall so far that it would even have an opposite idea. That it should lose the opposite idea and train how it also wants it. And then he will come and dwell with it. He will touch a bit with it. Because below he's really there with it anyway. But it's turned its face to him, as it were. It turned the back of its neck. What the mensch teaches it, then it turns back its face and everything becomes, yichud. How do we call Ponim B'Ponim, Dibur Hashem Mimoch. That David talks with the whole Bria face to face.
So then by now our Nefesh HaBahaim should have already been, if the Birim is over, or our Nefesh HaBahaim
and that's what the Rebbe said. That if you only say the right things, then the Nefesh HaBahaim will buy it. It's a different point now in the world. Once upon a time you have to work tremendously hard to get your Nefesh HaBahaim to hear things. Nowadays if you say it the right way, then the Nefesh HaBahaim will hear. And I can tell you if I had Koyah, I don't know, but maybe some point or another I'll find the Koyah. To tell you what I just heard now, certain things when I was in England, that you can see that the Bria is about to hear. You can see people are prepared to hear things. But once upon a time, it was laughed out of course. Now there's a whole readiness in the creation. A whole Indian of Moshiach has come down into the Mashiach Sadava. And the amazing thing is that even the non-Chassidim are beginning to happen. And that's always been this way. And I told in a shul in Bnei Brak a few months ago, I said to him, the days are coming where like all the inyanim of being, always Lubavitch was the first one to reveal that this is what has to be done. And what did everybody say? No, boy, you guys are crazy, these guys are anti-Yiddishkeit, how dare they say things like that, It goes for a few years and then they themselves start doing it. And they do it even better than Lubavitch. Because Lubavitch, like all good people, are patlanim. Don't have any money, and they're always breakers one with the other, and they're always wasting time on silly muchlations and amongst themselves, etc. Etc. Also to nourish business, what can we do? But the truth is that Lubavitch, always. So then it came along, if you think with all the greatness that the Rebbe said have to be done, everybody said, no way we're going to do it. All of them are doing it. You think carefully, I haven't got the time to go into all the different stages. So the same thing's happening now with Moshiach. The Rebbe said, these guys are chayvos, some of them use very sharp names and all sorts of terrible things. Now they're all beginning to talk about what's happening. They're all beginning. And even in Bnei Brak, there was a big notice of my wife, so I don't move around much I don't move around much anywhere, the truth is, except I just came back from England. But I don't move around much. My wife said there was a huge sign in Bnei Brak a couple of weeks ago, after that day called Tisha B'Av. I hope we'll never see or hear of that again. And it was a big saying, Hachona legula shlemo, titkonen legula ha'tida. So prepare yourself. Come to this meeting. It's going to be a big meeting. A whole list of rabbinic names are going to talk at the meeting. What's it going to be about? Hachana legula. Once upon a time, you would never seen that in the neighborhood. No, where'd they get that from? We brought it into the world. But I saw more than that. I saw cases. I met up with Yidden in England, North England, in the area which is called Yorkshire. I met up with people, tourists, that they came from America. And they were just, these Yidden that have drifted away, they're like Yidden, sort of semi-assimilated Yidden. I met a few of them. Amazing how cosmopolitan, so I banged into them. Now, they clung to me, they have amongst all these coins, they don't know what's going on. All of a sudden they see a Yid with a beard, they almost clang to him, like some, like a Malach Elohim or something. In the midst of all this turmoil, I see a person with a beard and a hat. We should do it. So we had a whole talk, and in the end, I said to them, the only thing is Moshiach, the only way. And they said, Moshiach. Oh, like they were relieved, like it was something, some Mayim Korim al Nefesh Hayefo, you put on a tired soul, you put cool water, Mayim Kaima on everything. Oh, if you'd have said that to a bunch of Yidden from America about 5-6 years ago, I said, come on, it's old-fashioned stuff. Tell me something, what's happening in the news, But I mean, it's really coming, Rabbi. It's really on the way. I couldn't believe my eyes. That it was actually happening. A bunch of almost assimilated in America. I was important. The most meant something to it. This is what are we supposed to do? What should we do? Pray for Mashiach. Talk about Mashiach. Try and understand it some way. Each one told me, what can I do? They have to go to get a pass. What am I going to do? I can't teach them the whole thing. I said, just try to understand Mashiach. Think about Mashiach. Talk about it. Pray for it. Oh, I'm so pleased that I told them. Amazing. Once upon a time, you said that to a group of people, and so something else. You know what? Now, completely different. Because it's all come down into the world. Anyway, so I tries to say, that's the ultimate in it. That's the ultimate birah. That's the ultimate birah. That's maybe what the Rebbe means, that the birah, the actual separation, the actual dealing with the ra in the form of a struggle, that's been finished. Now it's the final stage of actually bringing the Elikus into the cave. But that's you know, delay Mashiach. However, suffice it to say that that's what he means here by this the statement that Avedus HaBirurim Kefi HaKavona HaAmitius Hu Alidei B'chim Samal. In other words, what makes the whole possibility for there to be Birurim, that's through Malchus. That's also got to do with Malchus. It also has to do with the fact that everything went down into the possibility of there being a separate entity. And that was the union for Malchus. Just that in that itself, there are certain extra inyanim, we'll see as we go on this year. Of the whole fact is that the Eibishter made a Malchus. He made a sphere which made him appear a ruler over separate entity. Well, that gave rise to the whole possibility of the birurim. And then the Rebbe said that Tachlis HaKavon is Dira B'Taktoini. V'hainu Itaiches Yatachtim Yu Kelim. Mamish. And in the previous Maimah he was Mavai Barika. That means that the thing itself says it wants Elikut. Or it's shrei that it wants Elikut. And that's a touch of Kli. Without a will, you're not a Kli. If you don't have a will, you're not a Kli. On the contrary, you're resisting the Shefa Eloki. I would say, ich will, oh. And Amela said, the Rebbe, you Keli Mamish Lelkus, Zeo, Ali de Malchus Tavke. It all began through the fact that the Eivsha made Malchus, which means a Melabeleon, that it came about the possibility of this whole amazing secret that there can be another entity. And that entity will eventually say it wants Elikut. Well, that stopped you from Malchus. So the Rebbe says, U'kamoi Kain Yeridus Anishoma Lamata. Stopped you through the coming down of the Neshama into the world. Is going to be. So now the Kamoi Kain is that ultimately speaking, who actually does the work? What actually, you've got Malchus. Malchus is all about the work. And in Malchus, this whole union of the Nefila, the Netutas, and everything became a yesh, a separate entity. And you say now the whole union is to make dear lawyers, but that they should say we also want to be. Who does that? I mean, how does that happen? So the Rebbe said it happens through the Neshamas. In other words, that the Neshamas come into the world, they're the ones who bring it about. In other words, that man, he's the one who actually does it. What we just described is the way it's supposed to happen. But who actually does it, that's the Neshama. In other words, that the Kavona Elyoina of the Eivishter and the Neshamas are all one firm. They're one Chevra. They're one firm. It's a proprietary limited. The Eivishter, having made this whole situation, and the Neshamas, they come into the world. They're the ones that are going to achieve this whole thing. They're going to want to make the world say that it wants the whole thing. And the father said, the Rebbe, that is the union of Yeridus Anishoma Lamata. In other words, that you came down into this world. Really, you came down. Your whole union is to make the world a dear lawyers, but that's what you're doing down here. Even said, well, Shalom Aleichem, I thought I had something for myself. Oh no, you don't. You came down to make a deal lawyers, but a top king. That's why he came into the world. You have a few little things that you need here and there, and ultimately, if you do that, then that will be the greatest perfection that you could ever possibly have. So that was it. The Rebbe, Bebchinas Eved Poshut. Now, this involves quite a long discussion, which we're running a little bit out of time, but we'll deal with it a little bit more as we go along. The Rebbe has dealt in the last few Maimorim, about 5 or 6 Maimorim here in Samech Vav. He's dealt with a person that he calls him the Eved, the simple servant, the Eved Poshut. And he says that if you really want to carry out the ultimate union of the Avedis HaBirurim, then you've got to be a devoted, simple servant. But if you think you understand and you are a big, server, and you do your things, it could be you achieve high things, but you're not eventually really going to make a Dira Loyed Bara Batak Toinim. Who makes the Dira Batak Toinim? He who is just absolutely holds himself as a absolute iron efforts to Gavi Hashem. And he says, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know anything. My whole aim is just to be an Eved, to be a devoted slave to the Eivishter. And I'll tell you what, I give all my things away, and I do things only because he told me, and he wants it that way. And I'm devoted only to what he wants. I don't have any ideas of my own. I don't want anything for myself. That's all I really want. I only want what he wants. Oh, so then we get moving. Then the whole thing begins. And that's what he puts in B'chinas Eved Poshut. Because there can be other types of avodim, and they're good people, but they don't really bring the idea of the Tattonik, because they got their own in on them. You know, they like really learning Torah, they like really serving Hashem, they like to be big, they like to get into high inyonim and ruchnin and the whole thing. That's very good. But only if you're doing it for his purpose, what he really wants. But if you're doing it because you really enjoy it, then that's not the ultimate purpose. So there he puts in brackets. The Yuridas on his Shomer Lamata is going to be in the form of an Eved. For sure, that's the ultimate. So you know the famous story of Rabbi Parich. You know the famous story. Rabbi Parich said that all of his life, he was a tremendous goer and unbelievable. He wrote Mamar of his own. You know the famous story about Rabbi Parich. He said all of his life he's been hollowing and he's been working to become a Ish Pasha. You know? He's been trying with unbelievable, all his learning, all his service of Hashem, all his unbelievable inyanim, what he's done in his life is all in order to become a Ish Pasha. Become a simple person. Because he understood that the Yevid Pasha, he's the one that does the ultimate. And he once met up with a Misnagid. You know the story of the little Parich. He met up with a Misnagid. So he says to the Misnagid, what's your aim? What are you really working at? So since he's working the whole his life to learn and to daven and to do mitzvahs, so sein von him epis, that something should come from him. In Yiddish, the word epis, to pay, means something. In other words, that he wants that something should come of him. It should be worth it. It should be something. You know? That's an expression in Yiddish, so sein von mir epis. Something I should be something. That's what the Mishnah said to Rabbi Hill. Rabbi Hill said, oh, he said, I've been working my whole life, so I'm from mir epis. In Yiddish, the word, it's Lashon Kodesh. Aleph, Fei, Samech, in Lashon Kodesh means absolute naught. Ephes. You've heard of Ephes. In Yiddish, there's a word, Ayin, Pei, Ayin, Samech. That's a Yiddish word, which means something. But Aleph, Fei, Samech in Lashon Kodesh means absolute naught. So he said, I've been working my whole life, so I'm from mir epis. And Rabbi Hill said, oh yeah, he said, he's been working all his life, so I'm from him epis. Right. But that's the whole idea of the Eved Pasha. The Even HaBirur, who beprinzis slabshes davke, bedovaham is barer, shemisasik boi levareroi, or letaknoi, or asoisoi kli. So he said that if you want to do emes of birurim, you can't just sit back and smoke a cigar and blow an occasional puff of chidush Torah or something into the air. But he said you've got to get down into this world and you've got to deal with things. You've got to deal with the dvarim gashmim and use them in a way that you should use them and experience them in a way that you're supposed to. Be'emes lefi ratzon Hashem, which means that you've got to have to do with the world, meaning you've got to enter islapshus bidavar hamizbar, in the thing which is you're trying to purify. Shemisasik boy, that he busies himself with it, he deals with it, to purify it or elevate it or choose it out, and to fix it, literally to bring it to its emisar state of properness, the tachnoi, but to make him into a kli. What does it mean to make it into a kli? The thing that you're trying to be mavara, it itself wakes up. In other words, whether it be your nefesh hapamis, whether it be a physical thing in the world, it itself wakes up really what is really going on with it. Lotzeis min ha'heifach, to go out of the opposite, to be out of the being locked away from Hashem. And it says, I also want Ella, because I got a burning desire to be on with the Eibush stuff. In other words, that the world itself says, Elikut. Now that's eating from the Birur. That's what he pointed out in the previous one. That's the Pshat Birur. Birur the Pshat, not just that you you force the world to become a bit more correlative. You turn the world into a talking entity that in itself says, we want Moshiach now. That's what it does. Ultimately. That's, in our terms, in our particular time, that's what it means. The Lied begint het woord te zeggen, that's the touch of kli. Kli is what is you want. That's what means you're a kli. If you want, you're a kli. If you don't want halfway, then you're only half a kli. If you don't want anything, you're not a kli at all. Kli is dependent. It's the idea of having a kibul, how do you call it? A receptacle is your will. Either you want or cholila. The Rebbe nase kli mamish. ובזה דווקא נשלמה הכוונה המושרשת בעצמו. He said, then we make the kavana how it's rooted in the very essence of Hashem. You remember, no tchilas and beseifa. The whole in from tchila, the very essence of the Atzmus, is dafki in the seif kolamadregas of it. The union is that seif has to say, oh yes, I want to be a kli, I want to have a lakus. Pilot gesagt. That Malchus brings all this about. Like I said, the Noach Tchiloson be Seifon. That's a Rosh Hashanah. Noach Tchiloson be Seifon. The Tafki in the soft, in the lowest of all the Madrigas, that's where there's the Nesina Square from Atzmus Mam. But it's only a Nesina Square. There has to be the Neshama in the middle that he says, I'm making this happen. He said then Atzmus, Malchus just flies back into its original choice. You know what it means, fly back? It remains the source of the world, but it unites with its emerson source. Daino Atzmus saying, Seif not Chilos on Be, Beseifon, then at the union of Malchus becomes elevated into the very Atzmus Mamish, then the union of the Eibster by definition is Behelim. Atzmus is not Begolim. But he said what happens through that is that if the whole world says we want Atzmus now, then the Eibster Kaviyoli has to be Megalit himself. It becomes the union of Atzmus becomes Begolim. Vanashe Gilu Ur Chodosh Mamish. A whole new world it's never been before. Our from the Atzmus himself. And you should realize that that's the whole meaning of Samech Vav, those few words. A new light, that's the whole meaning of Samech Vav. A new meaning that's never been before. Give it a the Ayin base is the same thing. I can show you. All through the Ayin base is Nasa Gila Chodesh. And right near the end of Ayin base you get some idea what is this first of all. The Rebbe had to go through all these unbelievable Maimonim to gradually get to this why is it called a Uya? Because it's Gilui, but it's not just a Uya. Uya is only a Ha'ora. It's even Atzmus himself. And we call it Uya in a sort of a borrowed way, because it's Gilui. Really, it's him himself. We have to see further what we're talking about. So basically we'll see in the coming Maimorim, in the coming lessons, what we have to say about them. But that's like the policy statement.
I know we just ended on it, but the idea of the Or Chadash. What's the Or Chadash when we learn that the Geula is just the Aleph and the Galus? So is that the Or Chadash?
That's the Aleph. But the Aleph is Aluf Yishalaylam.
Yeah.
Aluf Yishalaylam means Atzmus. Aleph means Aluf Yishalaylam. Aluf Yishalaylam means the ruler of the whole world, the general, the Balabas.
But it seems more it's like a Gilui of the Or that's already there.
Yeah, well that's what the Atzmus is everywhere.
So why do we say it's Or Chadash?
Because it's never been there before. That's the pshat. It's never been Begoloi.
Okay.
Something which has never been Begoloi is called Chadash. It's Nimtza, but it should be Begoloi in the Makabel. That's a chiddush. You follow? It's called Chadash. And that was very interesting. The Dafki in the Arab Nuschois of Sfad and Polish, they say in Birchas Krishma, they say Chodesh al Tziyun Toyer v'Nizker b'Mheil Oirei Baruch Atah Hashem Yotzei HaMe'orei. And the Alter Rebbe took that piece out. We don't say the Kabbatzky don't say. We say Chodesh al Tziyun Toyer. And the Rebbe Marash says in the Maimah that that's a pshat. Chadash means a whole new good that's never been there before. The Rebbe Marash is Mavayah, what they say, he said, Zeh Mashu Kosu B'Nus Kois HaTfilah. Oh, but we don't actually say the Alter Rebbe didn't put it in. Isn't that amazing? Why the Alter Rebbe didn't put it in? So we have to say that that's going to become so obvious that you don't even need to say it, it's going to be part of it. Yeah, lead possibilities for saying Kalamat al-Lahavi, you say. Right at the moment. Good. Have a good evening, my gentlemen. Would you mind So, this is the message of Rosh Hashanah.